Hey, somebody needs to pick a movie. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You're listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by Vortex Optics. In 1986, Dan and Margie Hamilton started a small retail store in Middleton, Wisconsin called Wild Birds Unlimited. The store sold bird feed and binoculars for bird watching. In 2002, the Hamiltons founded Vortex Optics, and now 20 years later, Vortex is still an American manufacturer based in Wisconsin with dealers throughout the U.S., Canada, the United Kingdom, Europe, South Africa, Australia, and beyond. Vortex products are so good that the company issues a very important promise to each and every customer. Vortex will repair or replace your Vortex product in the event it becomes damaged or defective at no charge to you. If we cannot repair your product, we will replace it with a product in perfect working order of equal or better physical condition. You see, it doesn't matter how it happened, whose fault it was, or where you purchased it. If you ever have a problem, no matter the cause, we promise to take care of you. You can count on the VIP warranty for all Vortex Optics, rifle scopes, prism scopes, red dots, rangefinders, binoculars, spotting scopes, tripods, and monoculars. This is an unlimited lifetime warranty, fully transferable, no receipt needed. Check them out, vortexoptics.com. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And as you know, if you've been a viewer or listener of this podcast for any amount of time, we love it when somebody comes to the peace table with observations and answers. And that's what we have today. We have actually an old friend of mine. Do you know how you have these friends that you see like every few years, but it doesn't seem like any time has gone in between? That is my friend today. And I am presenting to you a huge presence in the world of filmmaking. This Tammy Online is the CEO and founder of Capernaum Studios. And this is located outside of Fort Worth, Texas, which Dallas is a suburb of Fort Worth. I've come to find out. And so you get where it is on the map. But Capernaum Studios outside Fort Worth, Texas, and you have seen things shot at Capernaum Studios. There have been movies made there and series filmed there. The Chosen has filmed 2 seasons at Capernaum Studios, and all that outdoor stuff that you see, that's located there at Capernaum Studios. And they have a unique reputation to provide something that the film studios on the coast don't provide. And so there's this little island in the middle of the country that is Capernaum Studios that you are seeing. And now I want you to meet the founder and CEO. But please welcome Tammy Online. Tammy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, it's so good to see you. You know, I was talking with a friend, Gilbert Little, who is a mutual friend of ours, and he mentioned, we were talking about The Chosen. He said, "Well, you know that thing is filmed at Tammy Studios," and I was like, "Tammy who?" "Tammy Online." And I said, "Tammy Online has a studio?" I mean, this is how far behind I am, and so I mean, I've known your family for 25 years, and I just didn't know. How did this come about?
Well, Andy, you've been a big influence in my life and my whole family's life. And whenever you started coming and speaking at my dad's meetings and stuff, then he gave everybody the book, The Traveler's Gift. And so I read it, and not only did I read it, I studied it and
Wow,
through
wow,
it, made notes, and um, it really built my faith and built me up in a way that I could actually believe that this was possible. And so I'm just so happy to be here and talk with you. And in fact, you signed one of my books and you put persist without exception. And so that's what I've been doing, is just kind of persisting without exception. And I even tell people that's what I do. So it's kind of funny.
wow. Now, yeah, I'm sure you worked with your dad and your husband, and you are like the leaders of this empire he has cobbled together. Your dad is one of the most interesting people that I've ever met. When I talk about your dad, I talk about Mr. Bobby Cox, and I say, not the baseball guy, the business guy, you know?
Yeah.
So,
The
so
restaurant.
yeah, yeah. But Mr. Bobby has had his hands in so many things. Slotsky's Deli, Blockbuster, and and for him, Blockbuster was not a bad word. He got out at the right time, and so just amazing to see what your family has accomplished. But how did you lean into the movie making thing?
Well, so I started getting a desire to do film. And so really, I just prayed about it, and the Lord started giving me a desire to do 7 biblical short films. And I had no idea what I was doing. I've never, went to school for it or anything like that. I just had a really strong desire to film these 7 biblical short films. And so I knew one producer friend, and I called him up and I said, "Hey, I really feel a strong urge to film this. Can you come help me and teach me everything? Because I have no idea what I'm doing." And so he said he would, and he came, and we did. We filmed, all these little short films, which no one can see. They're not good. Nobody wants to see that, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Sure, sure. And
So
I'm struck by the idea because I try to put myself in your place, and I'm struck by the idea of having no experience, no schooling, and no real idea except just this dream that was put in your head and in your heart. And you've got one place that you can go, one person that was kind of in that business. And from that, you persisted without exception, just, I mean, through a maze, I guess. But all right, continue with your story.
yeah, and it's funny, the one person that I knew, he was married to my cousin, and then they got a divorce. So I had actually forgot about this guy. And then I happened to be in Lubbock, Texas, and there was a newspaper sitting there where they delivered it to the hotel room, and he was in it. So he was in the newspaper. And so I was like, oh my gosh, he knows how to film. I can get him to do it. So anyway, that's just kind of a side note there that you made me think of. But anyway, so yeah, I wrote the scripts, and in the process, we rented out a big soundstage, and we built a first century village marketplace inside that
Now,
soundstage.
how do you rent out a soundstage? Where do you go to even find it? Like if you said, Andy, I need you to rent out a soundstage near Orange Beach,
Look it
where
up.
do I go? How did you find a soundstage to rent out?
They have a bunch actually around here,
Okay.
and so, lots of people do filming or commercials or whatever. And we found this one in Dallas, and we actually built a soundstage at Capernaum, but I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But that other people can rent out. But yeah, so we rented this out, and we built biblical village or first century village inside that soundstage. And it took about 2 weeks to build it, and then about a day or two to tear it down. And I think the Lord used that to drop into my spirit to build a permanent set. And that way we could have other filmmakers come and film, and then we could do our own films, and it would just be great, just do our own stuff and have a permanent set always there, not tearing it down. And so that kind of started the quest. And then I had to go to my husband and tell him, honey, I think we need to build a biblical village out at the ranch. And he, of course, thought I had lost my ever loving mind.
Some people want to ride horses. Some people want to snow ski. Tammy wants a biblical village. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I can just see Britt. It's like, oh my God. Oh, really? Seriously? Okay. I know, where does this fit into what we're doing? Okay.
Yeah. And my dad too. They were both kind of like, what is this about? What are you doing? So anyway, I just knew we have a horse and cattle ranch out there outside of Weatherford, where Capernaum is now, and there was land, So if there's land, you need to build something on it, right? So that's kind of what we did. So I finally, through a lot of prayer and convincing, I convinced them to, let me build this village. And I told them, the filmmakers are going to come and that's going to pay for it. And, it's all going to be great. But that's not exactly what happened, Andy.
Okay. Yeah. I'm shocked that our plans didn't come through as we had thought. So go ahead.
So we got the village built, and no filmmakers came until 12 years later. It took 12 years for us to get a filmmaker. Excuse me. So in the
meantime, my gosh.
Yeah, I was a little upset that it didn't happen right away, but that's what we think. We think this is the great vision that God's given, and it's going to happen right now, and it's just going to be awesome.
That's always been my aggravation with God, is he never seems to be under any obligation to tell me what he's doing.
Right. And he's not in our time frame.
Right.
He's in his time frame. So that was, it was challenging getting through that and figuring out, what we're going to do. And so the Lord started giving me other scripts. So I wrote other scripts that were for live productions, not films, but live productions. And we started doing these really epic outdoor walkthrough live productions on the sets. And many people, we still do them. Many people get saved through these. They're really awesome. And we also did retreats. So retreats, people would come and rent the facilities for retreats, and that sustained us for a while. So that's kind of how it started. And these live productions we've done, I think, 5 of them, and we still kind of rotated them out. We do new one, and we actually did one called the Apocalypse Experience, and that one we started in 2015, and in 2020, basically everything happened that was in it. It was kind of I didn't know it at the time, but it was a prophetic production. And so we take what we do. Let me just explain what it is, because you're probably going, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Okay.
So we take groups of 10 to 15 people through at a time all day long. We have anywhere from 25 to 75 actors that are on the actual set. So you feel like you're back in time. You feel like you're walking back in time with the actors in costume, and they're recreating a scene. So it's kind of like reenactments, but you're immersed in the story, whatever story we're telling. And so, for example, we're coming up on our Easter production called The Crimson Experience, and that one is about Jesus, basically the last few hours of his life, his death and resurrection. And so you start out and you see a 10-minute film that sets up the story where Jesus is before Pilate and all this, and he's, and then the Romans. So you watch this little film, and then the Roman soldiers come in and they grab you out of the theater and they take you onto the walk with Jesus. So Jesus is carrying the cross at this time, and all the actors are there, all the Roman soldiers, and they are portraying it like it's real. And so, but you're in a small group, so you're just right there walking with them. It's kind of up close. It's a very powerful experience. Then you get through with that scene, and then you go to another building, one of our sound stages, and you see the temple veil rip. Because when Jesus died on the cross, the temple veil ripped. And so we have special effects in there that portray that. So like the floor shakes, it's kind of, and just some really cool special effects. And so you get to experience that. And then you get to go to another sound stage. This is all walkthrough. So you just are walking through the whole thing. And then you get to the big sound stage, and that's where the tomb is. And we have a giant angel. I mean, literally, this guy that plays the angel is like 6'9" or 6'10". So he's a large individual, but he portrays, if the women come to the tomb and he says Jesus is not here, the tomb, opens. It's really cool. There's also some cool special effects in there. And then they get to go to the walk to Emmaus and actually meet Jesus. So, and go through that whole scene. And so it's just, you feel immersed in it. You feel like you've gone back in time and you were there for just a little piece of it. Does that help?
That is amazing. That is amazing. And so now here's something I'm curious to explore. You had this idea.
Mm-hmm.
You talked Britt and Mr. Bobby into seeing your vision. You do it, and 12 years pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, knowing how human beings are, during that 12 years, you three must have, you must have thought, okay, did I read this wrong? Because it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
After whatever period of time you have in your imagination that it's going to take to work, and then it didn't, and then twice that amount happens, and then 3 times that amount, and 4 times that amount, and suddenly you're staring at 5 years later, 6 years later, 7 years later. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Now to God, there was no, it didn't work. It just wasn't time yet. But in your minds, it didn't work. How did you process that? See, what I'm really trying to find out is, how do you persist without exception? People ask me that. How do you persist without exception? And part of the answer is, well, you persist without exception when you persist and it didn't work.
That's
and
right.
Now you got to persist without exception. That means you have run up against there is no way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you got to find a way where there is no way, or wait until there is no way. So how did you guys deal with running up against the thought it didn't work?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was very difficult because I thought I missed it. I thought I missed God. I'm, heard wrong. And then, then we have this place now. It also has a 30,000 square foot statue garden there. These statues were given to us, and we built this whole garden around these biblical statues. And, and so we have this place and we're like, well, the Lord is providing through other things, and we're doing these awesome productions and the retreats, people are being blessed by that. So we just kept going, we just kept going and moving forward and praying. And, I kind of, just put it in the back of my mind, like, well, I guess there's no films coming. But then in 2012, that's when we got our first film. And that kicked everything off. It's like, that's when it all started, and then it hasn't stopped since. It just continues to go. So now we've had like close to 200 people film there. So.
And, it seems amazing to me that now you can look with a broader view and you can go, okay, if filmmakers had immediately come, you wouldn't be doing the walkthroughs or the retreats, or that wouldn't have been part of what, and that's obviously part of what God had planned, but you didn't know about it at that point.
Yeah, that's true. So now, we develop new walkthroughs, and those are a big part of it. Now we have guided tours, and just tours. People can come out and tour the studios, anytime really. And
now you produced a film called Washington's Armor. We have a trailer of that.
Where, madam, do you get your facts?
Tis in your journal, sir. Tis all in your journal.
Some would have you to believe today that all of this is the work of chance and not that of divine providence.
Good morning, Major Washington. His Lordship said that you are to insist that the governor send you with a letter addressing Mr. Christopher Guest.
They butchered him in front of his wife and children so that no provincial nor Indian not loyal to the French would dare venture to go where you and the governor would have us go.
Many in the House believe your trip to the French Commandant to be theatrics, to induce public sentiment both here and abroad for war.
How, George, do you respond to this indictment, as some would say, to be unreasonable reasoning in the age of reason, sir?
Be of any consequence if the boy dies in the wilderness.
He led us into Ottawa territory. That Indian will find his brothers, and they will hunt us down.
Eat like a boy.
What is your name, madam?
To you, my dear boy, I am simply Sally.
Say your goodbyes, Major.
Good day, Mr. Gist.
This circumstance could lead to an open conflict with the French.
We shall cross, and without delay.
Okay, so tell me about Washington's Armor.
So Washington's Armor is, so I read a book called Bulletproof George Washington by David Barton. You probably know him.
I do know David.
Yeah. And so that book really impacted me, and I really felt like this story hasn't been told, and we really need to tell this story. Because it really shows the providence of God over George Washington's life and how he just protected him. And he did things that were totally amazing. Talk about persisting without exception. I mean, he really did. And so we filmed the first one called Washington's Armor, The Journey. And then so that's the video. And then there's a second part to it called Bulletproof. And Bulletproof George Washington is the second one that we're working on, and we just shot a proof of concept, and it is the actual story of 20 years prior to the Revolutionary War. George Washington was in the French and Indian War. And he fought on the side of the British, which is kind of funny. but he was very young, and he was shot 4 times in his jacket, and the musket balls penetrated his jacket but did not penetrate his body. And so that was a miraculous thing that he was protected. And so we tell this story and also him meeting Martha and all that. So it's really fun, and we're looking now for distribution and funding for that second one. But the first one, Washington's Armor: The Journey, is out on Prime on Amazon. So
Awesome. Okay. All right. That is killer. So the sequel is kind of in pre-production, or?
Yeah. Yes, we actually have a trailer. Well, you can see the trailer here. And with that is a trailer just from the proof of concept that we shot.
Okay. All right. So here is a trailer of the sequel.
Of all the officers commanding from horseback, you were the only one not killed or wounded.
Your duties left you so exposed to danger. We expected at every moment to see you fall. You came through without so much as a scratch.
You are a hero now, Colonel. You will be pleased to know you perished gloriously, Colonel.
The King's regulars and disciplined troops ran like sheep from hounds. I'm afraid this entire disaster was for naught.
Then patching up our boys as best I can.
I fought well.
Put the King's men to shame.
I have come to see face to face the warrior who cannot die in battle. Listen! A power mightier far than he protected you from harm.
Though death was leveling my companions on every side of me. Beyond all human probability or expectation, I have been protected. And I cannot help but wonder for what purpose I should be preserved on Earth.
This is a miracle, plain as day.
Keeping you alive is a perilous venture, Colonel, and I hereby resign for the sake of my own health.
That is awesome. So what is your dad doing now? How old is Mr. Bobby? Do you mind me asking?
He's 90 years old.
90.
Yeah.
And he's probably still like doing everything he did when he was a mere lad of 85. So,
yeah.
I mean, he's still going strong, right?
He is. He still goes into work every day. He's had some health issues, but he just keeps going and wants to, get new concepts, restaurant concepts all the time. He finds stuff that he wants to acquire and just do it all again. And in fact, we just got one in Arizona called Oregano's. It's a Italian restaurant. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's in Arizona. And so that's the newest thing that he's been working on. That's, that was recent.
So that's the newest chain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he has the roses and some other ones. And then now he did the oregano's, but he constantly looks at new things. So he just keeps going, and he loves the ranch out there, and he's amazing. That's for sure.
That is awesome. Well, when did The Chosen come to Capernaum Studios?
The Chosen came in 2012, so they're one of the ones. So we had one called Assassin 33 AD. That was our very first film. And then we had Penitent Thief, and then The Chosen came after that. And, we were all still learning, and we didn't know what The Chosen was going to become, And so we kind of all learned together, because we're learning how to rent a studio to films, and they're, embarking on this great vision and amazing thing that they did. And so it was a neat experience. It really was. And they filmed 2 seasons there, part of 3, the first 2, and then parts of 3. So yeah, it was really good.
Do you watch that sometime and go, oh, well, there's the
yeah.
so-and-so that I drug out from behind the door?
Yeah, you can tell definitely the scenes that were shot at Capernaum and scenes that were shot somewhere else. And we also have a lot of the same actors, like background actors.
Right.
We have a huge pool of actors that love Capernaum, and we love them, and they always come back for whatever is going on there. And so we'll see people in the background there. Oh, there's Brad. Oh, there's
That is funny. That is so funny. So what events do you have at Capernaum now that our audience will be interested in?
Well, we have guided tours, and those are once a month on Saturday. And so we have one coming up on the 22nd, actually Saturday, for President's Day. And we're actually going to show the proof of concept there and kind of release it there. And so people can go in and watch that. And then there's just a lot of fun stuff. We have a big homeschool community that loves going out there because it's, we teach history, the correct history, and
right.
And the things. I love history. I'm a very strong patriot and believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. So we just do all kinds of stuff that kind of encourages in that direction and teaches people, and we try to make it fun and funny, and it's fun. So the next one's on February 22nd, guided tour. And then we have a big spring break thing coming up for the whole week. And so there's a lot of fun activities that the students can do, all ages, families can come and experience that and see all the sets. And then we have, like during the spring break thing, we're going to have some little demonstrations, like we have special effects makeup demonstration. We have this big LED wall, like a virtual wall, and we'll be demonstrating some stuff that you can do with that, and our green screen, and all kinds of fun stuff. So
sure,
I think I love it.
That is awesome. Well, where do we find you on the web? What do we do to see your schedules? And
well, you can go to capernaumstudios.com.
Okay.
And then if you want to know about Washington's Armor, washingtonsarmor.com.
We will have all the pertinent links on the show notes.
Thank you.
Definitely have that. Thank you for joining us today. This is awesome. Well, I am so glad to reconnect with you and so proud of all you are doing. And please tell Britt and Mr. Bobby and Wanda too that I said hello.
I sure will. It was such a pleasure and good to see you.
Thank you, Tammy. Bye-bye. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Rewrites for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by 2 Iron Lightning Protection. Does lightning terrify you? Do you run at the sound of thunder? Never be afraid again with 2 Iron Lightning Protection. A fail-safe system of shielding you from ever being struck by lightning. Two-iron lightning protection gains its power the same way two magnets of the same polarity repel each other. Throughout history, there are some items that have never been struck by lightning. Among those are the Washington Monument, a giraffe, and a two-iron from the bag of any golfer anywhere. No one knows why this is, but when our company developed the anti-lightning strike system, we wanted to name it appropriately, thus the Two-Iron Lightning Protection System, named for golf's hardest club, because apparently even God can't hit a two-iron. That's Two-Iron Lightning Protection.